Hey, what's up, fellas? How you doing, man? Antonelli here.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? How we doing? You guys notice I changed my intro to "How we doing, everybody" instead of just "fellas." I did that on purpose um, because I have a lot of women and ladies and girls that watch our videos. So, um, not just all fellas. So, what's going on, everybody? Um, Today, we're talking about dating in the major leagues or the minor leagues. Let's just say professional baseball and dating. How does it work when you play someplace and you have a wife or a girlfriend or a fiance far away, or do they come and live with you? Um, how does that all work? And I have a lot of experience in that because I had, let's count how many times I touched my hat today. Everyone keeps telling me I touch my hat a lot. I do a lot. Um, so I have a lot of experience in dating while playing because I had a girlfriend who became my fiance, who became my wife. She's actually right above me. No, she's upstairs right now. So I have a lot of experience with that. And so let's kind of talk about my experience and then what I've seen with other players. First off, in my experience, a lot of players, I spent a lot of time, most of my career was in AAA. So in AAA, there's a lot of older players, okay? So that's where the majority of my time was spent. I had about a year of major league service time. I had probably, well, let's count real quick, 2008, 6 years pretty much, 5 to 6 years of AAA time. I was in the major leagues a little bit of that time. And then the rest was below that. But, 2006 I played a half a season, 2007 I played a full season, and 2008 I played almost a full season. So that's like 2.5 seasons below AAA, and then everything else was AAA and above. And so when you get to the older levels, especially, you have a lot of older players, right? So there's a lot of wives there. That's one of the biggest differences when you get to AAA. Like when you're younger, when I first start coming through the system, I'm like 21, 22, right? I got to AAA at 23. So you go from a lot of guys that have girlfriends, or some guys don't have girlfriends at all, and all of a sudden you get to AAA and it's like half the team's married almost, because then you start playing with like, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30 and up. You play with a good amount of 30-year-olds. I shouldn't say half the team is married, but a good amount of a chunk of the team's married, and then a chunk of the team has girlfriends or girlfriends for a long time or fiancés. So you kind of make that switch over. And then obviously in the major leagues, you're playing with a lot of guys that are mostly 25 and up. There's not a ton of guys that are younger than that, although there is, in today's game especially, young players starting to get up earlier. And there's more young players. But 10 years ago and even further back, there was a little bit more of an older type player. And so there you see a bunch of wives, right? So how does it work when you have a girlfriend or a wife or fiance? From my experience, so my wife never came out and stayed with me during the season except for 1 year. So when my first full season in Lake Elsinore, California, she would fly out. So I was playing in California and she lived in Boston. And so she would fly out once a month pretty much. And she'd almost always just fly out to, when I was at home, when I was in Lake Elsinore. Because when you play on the road, you have a hotel room and you have to share it with a roommate. So then you'd have to get like a separate hotel room, and then you don't have a car to get around, so you'd have to rent it just becomes much more expensive and more of a hassle. It's much easier when you've got your place, your own place, your apartment, or even if it's a host family, whatever. So like first year I had a host family, so she could fly out and stay with me there. I've got my car, so she's not trapped at the house all day long. She can do whatever she wants. Okay, so that's how we did it. She would fly back and forth every month pretty much. You play for the season's about 5 months plus spring training. She'd come out sometimes for spring training. I think she did. Yeah, she did. And so it's just like that long distance, for those, put in the comment section below if you've ever had a long distance relationship. I'm kind of used to those because I've always been away. I was away in college. I was away in professional ball. I was away in high school. I lived away 2 summers playing in Ohio and all over the country in travel ball. So most of my life was spent away. So like long distance stuff was like, I won't say it's easy, but it's like you get used to it after a while because that's all I did pretty much my whole life, from my 8 years of pro ball, 3 years of college is 11, 2 summers in high school was like 13. So I'd done it for so long, I was kind of used to it. So we did that for most of my career. Double A, same thing. Triple A, same thing. Was up in Portland, Oregon, and she would come fly out and go back and forth once a month again. And then we had the bright idea in 2010. The 2010 season, Laura said that she wanted to come live with me for the season, okay? And so I didn't know what level I was going to be. I knew I was going to probably I was going to be AAA. There was a chance that maybe I played in the major leagues that year. And so we got in my car one day and at the beginning of spring training in February, and we drove from Boston all the way to Peoria, Arizona, which took about 40-something hours. We drove to New York City and hung out with my buddy there. We stayed with him for the night there. That was a really short trip, but there was a ton of traffic. Then we drove to Kentucky. I had my college roommate lived there, so we hung out and stayed with his family there. And then we drove to, where do we go? Albuquerque, maybe? Someplace in New Mexico, I feel like. We got a hotel there. I think we got a hotel someplace else in between, too. I can't remember. And then we finished the drive up in Peoria. I actually have a video. I made a video of the trip that I probably should find and show you guys. But I kind of documented it on my old, like, what were those called? Flip videos or something like that. It was before, like, the iPhone was, like, it's before cell phones had good cameras and everyone bought those, like, big bulky flip things. I don't know if that was what it was called. It was something like that. If you ever used one, let me know. So we got out to spring training, and she stayed with me all of spring training there out in Peoria. And so, there's my hat again. I ended up breaking my hand that year, for you guys that know my story. Broke my hand and didn't play a single game that season. So I was stuck in Peoria the whole year. So we never got to go to AAA, obviously never went to the major leagues. And so I rehabbed. And when you rehab in Peoria, you rehab in spring training, you end up hanging around with, typically it's the rookie ball team or the extended spring training team. And that is typically like 16, 17, 18-year-old, like Latin players, a lot of Dominican kids. I don't know any of these kids because at this point I'm much older. And then you get newly drafted kids. So we didn't know anybody, and she didn't know anybody. And so she envisioned herself like coming out and living with me that season with, like, you know, she had made friends with all of my teammates' wives and girlfriends. And she like envisioned herself like having a fun summer at the ballpark, you know, like with her friends and all that stuff. Wrong. We spent it in Arizona in 120-degree weather, and she had no friends because I didn't know anybody there either. And so she like sat in the hotel room all day long. I'd go rehab for like all morning and afternoon. And then, you know, after a while, just imagine doing that we were there for February, March, April, May, June, July, August, and we went home in September. So 7 months straight, pretty much, of just sitting there rehabbing every single day. We didn't go anywhere. I couldn't go anywhere. I had a job. I had to rehab every day to try to get ready for the season. She had no friends. I didn't really know anybody. I got to meet some kids, but again, they're really young. None of them had wives or anything out there, so she had nobody to talk to. And I think after that year, she decided she decided she never wanted to come live with me again. And so she didn't. We went back to just doing the come out every 1 month. I think she's probably afraid that I get injured again and she'd be stuck in a hotel or an apartment all day long. I don't know if I said hotel earlier. I meant apartment. We got an apartment for the year. And so in 2011, I was signed by the Nationals. I played in Syracuse, New York, and that was easier because then she would just drive every day, right? So it was not every day. It was like a 5-hour drive. She'd come out like every couple of weeks. In 2012, I was in Norfolk, Virginia, and then I got sent up to. I got designated for assignment signed by the Yankees, so I was in the International League, which is an East Coast league for AAA, so then she could drive again. So that was really, really nice. And then my last year, I was in Columbus with AAA with the Yankees, and that's International League too. So we play against Pawtucket, and we play against teams that are close, so she would just drive out there and see me. So dating in the major leagues and the minor leagues happens a lot. There's a lot of people dating or that are married. And in my experience, most of the girlfriends didn't live with their boyfriends during the year. A lot of them would come back and forth every month or so. There were a few girlfriends that lived with them, and then you got your wives, obviously, that come out for the season and, you know, if you're in the major leagues, then you've got a house there, and typically your wife lives with you. If you're in the minor leagues, and even the wives, a lot of them would kind of do what my girlfriend did at the time, would just kind of travel out because, some of them live with them, but a lot of them would just travel out if they have houses someplace else. So that's kind of how it goes with the travel. You do a lot of talking on the phone, like a lot of talking on the phone, but there's really not a ton of options other than that. My wife, or my girlfriend at the time, had a job, so she couldn't just leave her job also. That's another thing to think about. So, she had her job there. She finally quit in 2010 when she came and lived with me. And then in 2011, she had to find a new job because she decided not to come out. So it causes a couple issues there. But that's the way it works. A lot of long distance stuff, a lot of traveling, a lot of talking on the phone. And that's my experience. So I don't know if I gave you guys good stuff there, but I've been asked a lot about dating and how that all works when you're in the major leagues and the minor leagues, and how many guys have girlfriends and all that stuff. So hopefully that helped everybody out. Let me know if you have any more questions in the comment section below. Subscribe to the channel. Give it a thumbs up. I'd appreciate that. Share the video with all your friends. Check the description box below. I've got a bunch of stuff down there for you guys to check out. And that's all I got. Thank you so much for watching again. I appreciate it, and we'll talk to you later.